All right, so you're here, ready to learn, and we're going to make sure you get there quick.
Yeah, think of this as your express lane to knowledge. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a collection of lessons that really get into the heart of physical culture and, well, just overall well-being, really. We're talking about some seriously cool stuff, approaches that have stood the test of time.
We've got a really interesting mix of sources for you today. Everything from exercise plans and nutrition advice to even some basic boxing, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. It's a pretty holistic view of what it takes to build a strong, healthy self.
And that's exactly it, a holistic view. We want to give you a clear understanding of the core principles, the things that really matter, sort of like a shortcut to understanding these aspects of physical development. Get ready for some surprises along the way.
Our mission is pretty straightforward. We're pulling out the most useful, the most actionable stuff from these sources, the stuff you can actually use. We're going to break it all down for you, starting with what these lessons call the bedrock, the foundation of success. Where does it all begin?
Well, one of the things that struck me right away is how much emphasis these lessons place on self-development. It's not just about the physical stuff. It's about cultivating the right mindset, from the inside out. That's where true progress starts.
They really drove home the point that you can't just go through the motions and expect to see results. It takes what they call intelligent, persistent labor, and they introduced this really interesting idea called dynamic tension.
Dynamic tension. Now, that's a term you don't hear every day.
Right. And it's all about your muscles working against each other, creating resistance within your own body. It's a way to boost strength and control without even needing external weights or equipment.
Makes you think about how much potential we have within ourselves, right?
Absolutely. But before you even get to that physical work, the lessons highlight some really crucial mental elements. They talk about the power of will, hope, courage, confidence in the system, faith in yourself, the methods you're using, and of course, good old persistence. They're pretty clear that weak, sporadic efforts just won't cut it.
It's all about that mind-body connection, isn't it? You have to be fully invested mentally if you want to see real physical changes. And it's interesting how they frame exercise not as some chore you have to do, but as something you should actively enjoy. They call it a sheer delight, actually. That positive mindset seems to be absolutely fundamental in their view.
Totally. And they take it a step further by urging you to hold this ideal of physical perfection in your mind constantly. Like, picture your muscles getting stronger, more defined as you exercise. They even call it think power, emphasizing the power of mental imagery, visualization in your training. It makes you wonder, how much of a role belief really plays in all of this.
It's interesting because that connects to what we know today about visualization techniques used in sports psychology, personal development, all sorts of fields. And this idea they bring up about exercise helping to eliminate what they call poisonous, dead, worn-out cellular tissue.
It sounds a little intense, right?
Yeah, the language might be a bit old-fashioned, but the underlying principle actually aligns with our understanding of how exercise supports cellular health.
Yeah.
It's about helping your body clear out waste and regenerate at a cellular level. Pretty cool when you think about it.
Okay, let's talk about something that's absolutely fundamental in these lessons, breathing.
Breathing.
They put pure air, deep breathing right up there with food and water as being essential for health and strength. Not just something you do without thinking, but a foundational practice.
Yeah, and they're very specific about advocating for full, deep, lower breathing, really using your diaphragm, not just puffing up your chest. And they list a whole bunch of benefits. Increased oxygen intake, better circulation, waste removal, new cell growth, body warmth, lung development, chest expansion, and even potential relief from chest and lung troubles. It's pretty clear why they saw it as so essential.
And what's really interesting? They even address some common misconceptions like the fear of night air. They actually suggest that mild drafts can be beneficial, just air in motion, nothing to be afraid of, which goes against some pretty old beliefs that are still around today.
There's also a really compelling anecdote they share about someone developing enormous shoulders and powerful arms as a result of focusing on chest development. They actually mention a 47-inch normal chest measurement as an example of what's possible. Pretty impressive, right?
It really underscores the potential for serious transformation. And they give two main reasons for why you should aim for a well-developed chest. It contributes to, what they call unusual energy and strength throughout your whole body. And it also has a huge impact on your physical appearance, grace, poise, and self-confidence.
Yeah, they really paint a strong chest as this symbol of vitality, boundless energy.
So how do you actually start building this foundation? They introduce exercise 1, which is dips between chairs.
Dips between chairs. All right, let's break that down.
So you get two sturdy chairs, place your hands firmly on the seats, and then your body is hanging between them. You lower yourself down as far as you comfortably can while you inhale, and then push back up, exhaling. Simple, but effective.
It's all about using your own body weight for resistance.
Exactly. They advise continuing until you feel slightly tired, gradually increasing the number of repetitions over time. And the big takeaway here is the emphasis on consistent daily practice. That's what they really hammer home.
Consistency is key, absolutely. And it's worth noting that the lesson mentions a few other exercises, 5, 6, and 7, even though they don't go into as much detail as with the dips. The focus seems to be on incorporating different types of resistance exercises, targeting those chest and shoulder muscles, and always maintaining proper posture with deep breathing.
And here's a little tip they recommend. Practicing these exercises in front of a mirror, ideally with minimal clothing, or even undressed. Now, before you get any ideas,
No judgments here.
the reasoning is that it helps you focus on the specific muscles you're working, and they also believe that your skin benefits from being exposed to fresh air.
So it's a holistic approach, considering your whole body and the environment you're exercising in.
They also caution against rushing through your exercises. Take your time, focus on proper form, and practice consistently. Strength isn't built overnight. It comes from repeated effort over time.
Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about the importance of rest. They actually recommend a pretty early bedtime, like 10:30 or 11:00 p.m.,
Yeah.
which shows how much they prioritize rest as part of the process.
Yeah, they even outline a pre-sleep routine, a way to prepare your mind and body for optimal rest. They suggest starting with a good wash to cleanse yourself of the day's dirt and grime, followed by this really specific relaxation technique where you focus on each part of your body and consciously relax it until you feel totally limp and loose.
It's like a full body scan, letting go of tension in every muscle.
And then the instruction is to clear your mind of any worries or anxieties. It's about creating that calm, peaceful mental space before sleep.
It's amazing how much they emphasize the power of your pre-sleep thoughts. They urge you to focus on positive affirmations, things like strong, healthy, perfect. Take a moment to be grateful for your life, your health. The idea is that your subconscious mind keeps working on these thoughts as you sleep, so it's important to feed it positive stuff.
It's like setting yourself up for success even while you're asleep. And they get pretty detailed about the ideal sleeping environment. Tidy, clean, well-ventilated, cool they recommend between 50 and 70 degrees, and sleeping on a firm mattress with a light pillow. It's like a recipe for the perfect sleep sanctuary.
Really specific recommendations aimed at maximizing your rest and recovery.
Lesson 1 wraps up by tying it all together, stressing the importance of early sleep, fresh air, cultivating those positive thoughts, and getting out of bed as soon as you wake up.
All crucial for boosting your health and strength.
But it doesn't stop there. They introduce this really intriguing concept of magnetic power and the development of your personality as being integral parts of the whole program. It's not just about the physical, it's about building character too.
Right. It goes beyond just lifting weights. It's about being persistent in your efforts, revisiting your reasons for starting this journey, aligning your habits with those principles of health, and even, paying attention to your grooming. It's a whole person approach, really.
They also caution against what they call mental waste, urging you to focus your thoughts on things that are truly valuable and constructive. Be open to constructive criticism, they say, and work on building both physical and mental strength.
So it's about being strong in every sense of the word.
And then they bring it back to the physical, reminding you to start with those dynamic tension exercises, especially those dips we talked about. Do as many as you can without straining yourself, they say.
It's about working within your limits, but consistently pushing those limits a little bit further each time.
And this last line from Lesson 1 really sets the stage for the next topic. They say, we are what we eat. It's a perfect segue into Lesson 2, all about nutrition.
The food we put into our bodies, it's the fuel that drives everything, right?
Exactly. So let's dive into Lesson 2, nutrition for health and strength. They start by explaining the basic reasons why we eat. It's to repair the tissues in our bodies, to build and nourish the brain, to give our cells the elements they need to function, and to store energy as fat. Pretty straightforward, but important to remember.
They then break down the 7 main classes of nutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and they make a clear distinction between simple and complex carbs, even giving examples of each. Then vitamins, minerals, fats, fiber, which they correctly identify as an indigestible carb that's super important for waste elimination, and of course water.
And they're very clear about the need to get a little bit from all 7 of these classes every day. It's about balance, eating the right proportions and combinations of foods to make sure you're digesting and absorbing everything properly.
It's about creating that internal harmony for optimal health.
Now, they're not shy about criticizing certain foods, like white bread and all white flour products. They call the refining process a crime because it strips away so many vital nutrients and fiber. And it's not just white bread. They lump pies, puddings, pastries, cakes, all those refined baked goods into that category.
And on the flip side, they have high praise for whole wheat, for its abundance of vitamins, minerals, and that all-important fiber. But they're very specific about saying that true whole wheat bread has to be made with 100% whole wheat flour. Watch out for those tricky labels like cracked wheat or sprouted wheat, which might not be the same thing.
They even go into how a diet heavy in white flour can actually cause blockages in your digestive system and contribute to constipation. Not exactly what you want. Of course, they do acknowledge that some white bread is fortified with vitamin B1 these days, which makes it a slightly better option. But still, whole wheat is the way to go.
Makes you want to check your bread labels, doesn't it?
Totally. They also strongly advise cutting back on all fatty meats because of those saturated fats and the risks of high cholesterol, clogged arteries, and heart disease. The recommendation is to stick to fresh, lean meats, cooked thoroughly, and eat them in moderation as part of a balanced diet. And another interesting point, they advise against using too many condiments like salt, mustard, pepper, vinegar. They say it dulls your taste buds and masks the natural flavors of whole foods.
Makes sense. It's about appreciating the real taste of food, right?
Exactly. And candy and commercially produced sweets, especially white sugar, get a pretty harsh critique. They criticize the use of cheap glucose, inferior sweeteners, and potential chemical additives. They suggest opting for higher quality natural sweeteners like honey maple syrup or brown sugar, but even then, keep it moderate.
It's all about making those conscious choices, reading labels, and being aware of what you're putting into your body.
And here's a specific swap they recommend. Switching from regular white rice to organically grown brown rice. The reason, well, unpolished rice retains all those vital nutrients, and the same goes for pasta. Opt for the whole wheat variety over the refined stuff.
Okay, now for a strong one. They're very much against drinking coffee and tea, calling them artificial stimulants that have no nutritional value and can even be harmful. They go so far as to label caffeine a deadly poison in its concentrated form.
Wow, strong words.
Yeah, and they use this analogy of how tea stains the inside of a teapot to illustrate their point about the potential internal effects on the body. It's pretty vivid imagery.
It definitely makes you think twice about that morning cup of joe. They really drive home the central idea that most illness stems from dietetic errors or making poor food choices. It's all about actively choosing nutrient-rich foods, building that strong, perfect body. And it's not just about physical strength, they say, but also about things like personal magnetism, having a strong personality, courage, confidence. It's all interconnected in their view.
It's a holistic perspective on health, recognizing that our physical and mental well-being are deeply intertwined.
And they emphasize the importance of proper food combinations at each meal for good digestion. Don't just eat all protein or all starch at once, mix it up. Combine different food groups for better digestion and nutrient absorption.
And you know what they really stress? The importance of chewing your food thoroughly.
Oh, absolutely.
They say it's the first crucial step in digestion, and they warn against eating quickly and washing food down with drinks. They explain that when you don't chew your food properly, it takes more energy to digest it, and it slows down the whole process.
It's about giving your body the best chance to break down and absorb all those nutrients.
Exactly. And they also say that you should avoid snacking between meals.
So, no mindless munching.
Right. They believe that snacking prevents you from experiencing true hunger, and it doesn't give your digestive system a chance to rest. They recommend aiming for 5 to 6 hours between meals.
And here's another practical tip. Avoid intense exercise for at least 2 to 3 hours after eating.
Yeah, that allows for proper blood flow to your stomach and intestines, so you can digest your food efficiently.
They also advise against eating in a hurry. It's not a race. Take your time, savor your food, and focus on the process of actually absorbing those nutrients.
It's about quality over quantity.
Right. And be mindful of what you choose for lunch. They specifically caution against those light lunches of just soda and cake.
Not exactly the most nourishing, are they?
Nope. Instead, they recommend opting for things like whole wheat or graham crackers with milk. And steer clear of those sugary fountain drinks too. Water or milk are much better choices. They even give tips for making healthier choices when you're eating out at restaurants.
So you can still enjoy a meal out without derailing your health goals.
Absolutely. They suggest asking for whole wheat or rye bread instead of white bread, and opting for fruit salad or fresh fruit for dessert. And here's an interesting point. They emphasize the importance of being in a good mood when you eat. Worry and anxiety can actually mess with your digestion.
It's that mind-body connection again, how our thoughts and feelings can actually impact our physical processes.
Now let's move on to lesson 3, all about digestive and intestinal maintenance. But before we dive in, they start with a really important disclaimer.
A disclaimer.
Yeah, they say, if you're dealing with constipation, it's crucial to talk to a doctor. They're very clear that the information in this lesson is for general knowledge and prevention. It's not a substitute for medical advice, especially because constipation can sometimes be a sign of something more serious, like appendicitis. It's a responsible approach.
Absolutely. It's always best to err on the side of caution and seek professional medical advice when needed.
So they define constipation as, when you have difficulty or delays in emptying your bowels, resulting in dry, hard stools. And they say that if you're going less than every 48 hours, it's considered constipation. Ideally, they recommend a daily bowel movement for optimal health.
Makes sense. Regular elimination is crucial for overall well-being.
They also make it clear that constipation is a symptom, not a disease in itself.
So it's a sign that something else might be going on.
Exactly. They say it can be caused by lifestyle factors, but also by underlying medical conditions like chronic appendicitis, gallbladder issues, obstructions, tumors, or hemorrhoids. But most of the time, they say around 85% of cases, it's due to what they call faulty living or unhealthy habits.
So things we can actually control and change.
Absolutely. And they give this big, long list of common causes. Things like bad bowel habits, ignoring the urge to go, not eating enough fiber, not drinking enough water, working too much, worrying too much, not exercising enough, being too sedentary.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, the list goes on. Using laxatives too often, smoking too much, drinking too much coffee, overindulging in food or alcohol, not getting enough sleep, having an irregular routine, taking sleeping pills.
It really highlights how interconnected our lifestyle choices are, how they can all impact our digestive health.
And they also talk about how having weak abdominal muscles can contribute to constipation. Those muscles help with the natural movements of your intestines that push waste along.
So it's important to keep your core strong, not just for aesthetic reasons, but also for digestive health.
They describe a potential vicious cycle where a weaker abdomen leads to less efficient waste removal, which then leads to more fat accumulation in the abdominal area. They even mention how accumulated waste can actually be surprisingly heavy and put pressure on your intestines and organs.
It's definitely not something you want to be carrying around.
And then they go into all the negative effects constipation can have on your body. Headaches, brain fog, nervousness, fatigue, weakness, even a decrease in ambition and drive.
Wow, it can really impact you on multiple levels.
It can also lead to physical discomfort, bloating, stretching of the colon, loss of appetite, nausea, dizziness, digestive problems, insomnia, heartburn, gas, bad breath, and even skin issues like a poor complexion and pimples.
It really highlights the importance of regular elimination for overall health and well-being.
Absolutely. And they warn that chronic constipation can even increase your risk of more serious problems like appendicitis, anal itching, hemorrhoids, and even issues related to straining during bowel movements like anal ulcers, hernias, and even, in older individuals, an increased risk of stroke.
It's not something to take lightly, that's for sure.
And they take a really strong stance against the habitual use of laxatives. They say they're often harsh irritants or even toxic substances that don't actually address the root cause of the problem.
They're like a temporary fix that could potentially cause more harm in the long run.
Exactly. And they even go into specific negative effects of certain types of laxatives. For example, they mention how chemical irritant laxatives can damage the lining of your stomach and intestines, while mineral oil can interfere with vitamin absorption and slow down digestion.
Not exactly what you want when you're trying to improve your digestive health.
And they also caution against taking alkaline laxatives without medical supervision because they can neutralize your stomach acid, which is essential for digestion.
It's about finding those natural, sustainable solutions that address the root cause of the problem.
Right, and they emphasize the crucial role of wise nutrition in preventing constipation. A varied, appealing diet naturally stimulates those digestive juices and promotes regular, healthy bowel movements.
Makes sense. You want to eat foods that actually support your digestive system, not hinder it.
And they highlight the importance of getting enough vitamins, especially from fruits, vegetables, milk, eggs, and lean meats. They're important for maintaining healthy intestinal muscles and for overall nourishment.
And let's not forget about fiber. It plays a crucial role in helping waste move through your intestines.
Oh, absolutely. But they do caution against overdoing it with fiber, especially if you're prone to nervousness. Too much can actually cause gas, bloating, and cramps. And even those high-fiber foods like bran can be irritating or cause blockages in some people.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, the right amount of fiber for your individual needs.
They also reiterate the importance of chewing your food thoroughly. Don't just swallow it in chunks. Give your body a chance to break it down properly. And they remind us that saliva plays a crucial role in the digestion of starches.
It's all about those fundamental steps, those little things that can make a big difference in your digestion.
Lesson 3 also includes a couple of exercises specifically for aiding digestion. One involves lying on your back, bending one leg towards your chest, and using gentle resistance to pull it closer and push it away.
It's all about engaging those abdominal muscles, stimulating the digestive process.
And the other exercise involves standing with your feet apart, hands on your hips, bending your knees slightly, and then reaching towards the opposite foot with one hand, repeating on both sides.
Simple movements, but they can really help to improve digestion and strengthen those core muscles.
Now let's move on to lesson 4, which focuses on special abdominal exercises. The goal here is strengthening your spine and back muscles. And they have this interesting approach where they emphasize relaxation at the start of each exercise. You perform the movement with complete relaxation first, focusing on getting a good stretch.
Yeah, it's almost like a two-part approach. Stretching for flexibility, then engaging for strength.
So for the 4th exercise, you start standing tall, then reach towards the floor with a slight bend in your knees, and then bend backward as far as you comfortably can. Repeat that until you start feeling tired.
It's all about increasing that range of motion, improving flexibility and strength in your back.
And then the 5th exercise has you standing tall with your hands overhead, and you twist your upper body to the right and then to the left, repeating until you feel some fatigue. They actually mention how these twisting movements have a direct positive impact on the kidneys.
Really? How so?
Yeah, they say the pressure and the sort of gentle percussion help to encourage blood flow to the kidneys.
It's fascinating how these exercises can target specific organs and systems in the body.
Absolutely. Now, they switch gears to exercises for the neck. They're big on having a strong, supple, powerful neck, and they emphasize practicing these exercises diligently.
The neck is often overlooked, but it's so important for overall posture and strength.
Exercise number 1 for the neck is pretty simple. You grasp your head and gently bend it to the right and then to the left, making a few extra efforts to increase the bend at the end of each movement.
It's about gently stretching and strengthening those neck muscles.
And they briefly mention the importance of doing exercises for the face, too, to improve muscle tone and keep those facial muscles strong and defined.
It's a holistic approach addressing every part of the body.
Then they move into some specific kidney exercises. Exercise number 1 for the kidneys is pretty interesting. You gently chop the back region where your kidneys are with the edges of your hands.
I've never heard of that one before.
Yeah, it's a bit different, right? And then exercise number 3 for the kidneys involves clasping your hands behind your back and bending your upper body to the left and backward, then repeating on the right side. It's all about targeting that area, promoting circulation and function.
It's a reminder that exercise can benefit our internal organs as well, not just our external muscles.
Now, back to neck exercises. Exercise number 3 for the neck is similar to the first one, where you bend your head to each side, but this time you resist the movement with your hand, creating that isometric tension.
So it's about engaging those muscles against resistance, building strength and control.
Exactly. And then they move back to abdominal exercises. One involves lying on your back and bringing your feet up and over your head until your toes touch the floor behind you. Another one has you lying on your back with your knees bent and raising your upper body to touch your head to your knees. They suggest aiming for a high number of repetitions for that one, like 75 to 100.
That sounds like a challenge.
It definitely works those abs. And then there's one where you lie on your back, raise your legs, spread your feet wide, and then close them and cross them over each other. It's all about working those abdominal muscles from different angles.
Variety is key for a well-rounded workout.
And one of the final exercises in this lesson involves using a chair for support. You grasp the arms of the chair, bring your feet into position, lower yourself down by bending your elbows, and then straighten your arms to lift back up. It's described as being quite difficult initially, but gets easier with practice.
It sounds like a great way to build strength in your arms and shoulders, as well as your core.
All right, let's jump ahead to Lesson 6, which is all about back exercises. They start off by emphasizing how visually appealing a strong, well-developed back is. They really sell it as a key part of an impressive physique.
A strong back is definitely a sign of strength and power.
And they assure you that dynamic tension is the way to go for building those back muscles quickly. Consistent practice is key, as always. And here's something interesting. They specifically say that it's not necessary to know the names of all the individual muscles in your back.
So it's not about getting bogged down in anatomy. It's about focusing on the movements and the results.
Exactly. Just keep practicing those exercises and you'll develop that wonderful, strong back, they say. And they have you doing all the back exercises every morning and evening.
Wow. Twice a day.
Yep. They believe that it's important to engage different groups of back muscles and give others a chance to rest, leading to more balanced development.
It makes sense, spreading out the workload and giving your muscles time to recover.
So for exercise 1 for the back, you bend forward at the hips, interlace your fingers behind your lower right thigh, and then slowly rise to standing while resisting the movement with your thigh. Then you repeat on the left side. They say this is especially good for the lower back, and they advise increasing the resistance as you get stronger.
It's all about progressively overloading the muscles, challenging them to adapt and grow.
Then for exercise 2 for the back, you start in a squat position with your hands on the floor. You lean forward a bit and then quickly extend your legs straight back like you're going into a push-up position. Then you immediately reverse the movement back to the squat. You keep doing this until your back and legs start to feel tired.
It sounds like a dynamic, full-body exercise engaging multiple muscle groups.
Exactly. And for exercise 3 for the back, you need a chair and a cushion. You put the cushion on the chair, position it a couple of feet from your bed, and then rest your abdomen on the cushion, making sure your heels are under the edge of the bed. With your hands behind your neck, you slowly lift your upper body up and down. They do caution against straining, though, and they suggest variations like extending your arms forward for a bigger challenge.
So it's about finding the right level of intensity for your current strength level.
And they briefly mention a few other back exercises, seated twists, side bends, and lying prone and raising your body up with different leg variations.
It's a well-rounded approach, addressing different areas of the back with various movements.
And they really emphasize how valuable it is to dedicate at least half an hour each morning and evening to these exercises, not just for muscle building, but for overall health and strength. They even pose the question, isn't it worth it?
It's a good question to ask ourselves, right? How much do we value our health and well-being?
They also address the classic no time excuse, pointing out that everyone gets the same 24 hours in a day. It's about priorities. And they make it clear that this program provides the methods for development, not a quick fix. You have to put in the work to see the results.
It's about the journey, the process of growth and transformation.
They assure you that if you're consistent and dedicated, you will see amazing results. Exercise until you feel good and tired, they say, but stop before you get completely exhausted. It's those last few reps done with focused effort that really make the difference.
It's about pushing your boundaries, but respecting your limits.
And they emphasize those key ingredients for success: practice, perseverance, and patience.
The trifecta of achievement in any endeavor.
Now, they also give some practical tips for avoiding stiffness and soreness after your workouts. They recommend immediately shaking the muscles you just worked, keeping them relaxed, and then gently rolling, pulling, vibrating, massaging, kneading, and stretching them.
It's all about promoting blood flow, removing waste products, and keeping those muscles loose and supple.
They also suggest massaging with pure olive oil, using upward strokes toward the heart. And they include some variations of the earlier back exercises. One has you grasping your hand under your thigh and pushing upward while resisting with your thigh.
So it's like a modified version of that earlier exercise.
Another variation involves starting in a squat position and kicking your feet back into a plank position. And another has you resting on a stool or chair with a cushion, bending your head and feet upward, and then you can even try clasping your hands behind your head.
It sounds like a challenging but rewarding exercise for the back and core.
And they even include a variation where, instead of lifting straight up, you clasp your hands behind your back and bend your body to the right, then to the left.
It's about targeting those oblique muscles, those muscles on the sides of your torso.
And the last variation they describe is forcing your shoulders back, clasping your hands, and then twisting your upper body to the left and right. They say you can even do this one at odd moments throughout the day just to keep your back muscles engaged.
It's about finding those little opportunities to incorporate movement and strength training into your daily routine.
Now let's move on to lesson 8, which focuses on shoulders, thighs, and legs. They start by acknowledging the progress you've likely made at this point, but they caution against complacency. There's still work to be done, other areas to address.
They're all about continuous improvement, not just resting on your laurels.
And interestingly, they downplay the bicep as the main focus.
Oh, really? I thought biceps were like the symbol of strength.
Well, they argue that strong shoulders and a well-developed chest are more fundamental. They recap the progression of the lessons, how you've built a foundation with lung capacity, chest development, broad shoulders, and now they're turning their attention to the upper arms.
It's a logical progression, building strength and size from the inside out.
They even suggest measuring your biceps at this point to track your progress. It's a way to see those tangible results of your efforts.
It's always motivating to see those numbers go up.
And they remind you to practice in minimal clothing in front of a mirror. It helps you focus on the muscles you're working and stay motivated.
Plus, they believed in the benefits of fresh air on your skin.
Right. And they stress putting snap and pep into your movements, doing them with energy and enthusiasm. Focus on perfect form, that mind-muscle connection.
It's about being fully present and engaged in your workout, not just going through the motions.
So, for exercise 1 for shoulders, you grasp your right wrist with your left hand and then forcefully try to bring your right hand to your right shoulder while resisting the movement with your left hand. Then you repeat on the other side.
It's all about creating that isometric tension, engaging those shoulder muscles without any external weight.
Exactly. And for exercise 2, for shoulders, you extend your right arm down and back, put your left hand into the palm of your right hand from behind, and then try to bring your right hand to your shoulder while resisting with your left hand. Make sure to work both arms equally.
Balance development is key.
Then for exercise 3 for shoulders, you clench your fists together in front of you, grip them tight, and then slowly raise your right hand to your shoulder while resisting with your left hand. You can also try it with your left hand over the back of your right hand for a different angle of resistance.
It's about finding those subtle variations that target the muscles in slightly different ways.